Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen into, I've been looking forward to doing this for a little bit of time now, and on a casting lesson today with Mark from Exmouth, and I've brought down a couple of rods for him to check out. Now, as part of the review, it's nice to obviously give my review, but also include others. And Mark's been casting now for a fair few months. He's had a few lessons with me. Started off with a three-piece rod, which he's basically got rid of and gone on to a more quality and a better rod, to be fair, at the end of the day. But at the same time, he's got to learn to use it. So I bought selections of rods down when we've done the casting. I bought the T9s, the T1s, the T12s, the Tip Tornado Graphic Sport. He sort of fell in love with the Tip Tornado Graphic Sport straight away, the lightness of it and stuff like that. Now, the only thing is, Mark drives a big 4x4 with a cab on the back. And unfortunately, the rods don't fit in the cab. They're slightly too long. So he's looking for something which is a little bit shorter. Now, I've brought down the Century Eliminator X80 and X90 today. Mark's done a little bit of homework last night and he said, I'm looking forward to trying the X80. He's just put a reel on it. He's got a massive grin on his face. And yeah, we're going to get Mark to obviously go through his first thoughts on the rod. And then what we'll do after that is go on to the X90, which I'm very much looking forward to doing. Now, I've got a bit of an issue with my arm at the minute. I don't know what's going on. I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. It just feels dead all the time. Might pulled something at work or whatever, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. But we're going to get Mark in now to give his first thoughts on the X80. So here we go. So the X80. So obviously, I'll go through a little bit of detail. Go a bit more from the Century site in a minute. But it's 13'6", and it's 4 to 7 ounce optimum casting weight. The first thing I noticed personally is the diameter of the rod, very thin. With the new technology and what they've obviously brought into over the years now and studied and stuff, they're able to create very strong carbons and use very small diameters in rods. Compared to a lot of the older rods, you can imagine the old Ziplex SU and stuff like that, they were massive, but you can see straight away it's a very powerful rod. Now I'm going to go over to Mark and obviously get him to go through and say his thoughts about it. So what's the first thing you sort of noticed on the rod?
The first thing I actually noticed when I picked this rod up, compared to my Graphic Sports, it's really light. And it feels, well, it's more balanced on the Graphic with the reel being down.
Yep.
Look at that, I can nearly balance it in one hand from where I'd actually hold the rod. So it seems a well-balanced, light rod.
Yeah. So you're looking for something lighter with obviously your shoulder
yeah,
a little bit.
I'm looking for something lighter, and also I'm looking for something a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
I have a Hilux, and my rods won't actually fit in the back of the Hilux by about 2 inches. These may.
Yeah, we'll try it later on and we'll get a bit of video footage of trying it. But yeah, the first thing, as you said, is it's optimum casting weight from 4 to 7 ounce.
Yeah.
So you can bit of estuary work with it, a bit of Chesil Beach work with it, 7 ounces, you know what I mean? It goes up, so it's gonna handle in very strong tides at the same time. And yeah, let's see how it casts. First time casting.
Let's put a chuck out.
Let's get him casting then. What do you think?
Who do I give the money to?
Huh?
Who do I give the money to?
You come back in here after and we'll have a chat. Who do I give the money to? His first reaction. I knew he's going to like that rod. First words he said to me after casting, who do I give my money to? When he's casting in a minute, we've done a few casting as I said, and he struggles with his right arm a little bit. He's sort of like, and he puts himself in a slightly wrong position because his arms, it bends naturally. It's his body protecting the obviously his arm. But being slightly lighter is always going to help that, so it's not so much weight in the front arm. But I'm going to get Mark to come over here now, and he can say his views straight away. So there you go, mate. That'll be right.
But to be fair, with the tuition that I've had from Andy and this rod, it's so easy to cast a long way. I'm actually casting this out over the rolling breakers here today, where before I'd be in the middle of it. The rod is so easy to cast.
What I was saying before, obviously you've got a slight problem with your shoulder, and with heavier rods, your arm's bending naturally because your body's trying to protect it.
That's right.
Yeah, with that then, it seemed that you were able to keep that up higher in more in position.
It felt more like my spinning rod than
There you go. Yeah, there you go. It's lightness at the end of the day, guys. You will listen, like the olden days of very heavy rods and very thick diameters have gone. Latest knowledge, technology, obviously with Century, they're getting very, very, very slim, and they're getting very, very powerful. And yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, you look at some of the rods I've used, like some of the Conoflexes, the Ziplexes, and the Century from back in the day, like the M427 SUs. They were massive diameter butts, but these ones here are like very slim lined. 7 ounces at the same time as well. 4 ounces, a little bit of estuary work, little Chesil Beach, rolling the lead around in the surf and stuff. Bass, I mean, Cornish beaches for bass, and then at the same time. The way I haven't had a cast yet, I'll let him have another cast and I'll have a cast. But you're looking at like Bristol Channel work with 7 ounces and very fast tides. It looks a very nice bit of kit, and I'm very looking forward to casting it. But we'll get him to have another go now, and we'll see how he gets on. That, you've got the brakes on that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that cast there, if he was letting the brakes off, he would have been straight over those breakers again. You can see straight away the lightness in the rod, and at the end of the day, as I've said many a times to people, rods are different. Just because one rod works for someone doesn't mean it works for someone else. Me personally, out of the 2 rods, I can tell straight away I'm going to be more forward towards the X90, but the X80 at the same time here now, rods are there for what you need them for, you know what I mean? And with a lot of different rods in the ranges and that, it's one good thing about Century, they're forever bringing different rods available out the market. So there's stop gaps in the middle, and they've looked at that over time. So a lot of people were saying, like myself all the time, the T9 was one of my favourite rods ever made, but I would have preferred it as well with a carbon tip. Now, so I'm told that's where the X90 comes into it. But exactly the same, the T1's a little bit much for someone, and the T9, they want a mixture in between the gaps. This is where this X series comes in. And it's good to see, guys. I think it's something which the fishing world needs to see more often. Is a lot more development and a lot new things. I mean, the trouble is, a lot of the time, people see something that works and they sort of like stay into it. But you can see straight away with Mark, I can tell the difference between him casting the Century Graphic Sport rather than that there. He seems a lot more chilled, his arms holding out a lot more, and I think it's well suited to you, that rod, mate.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, I'm going to have a cast now, so let's see how we get on. So I'm going to start with a basic layback cast. Little bit of an overrun. To be honest, I haven't cast for a couple of weeks, and it's not my reel, so I didn't know how much, and I've let that right off there now. But it will come out done. It's only a little one. Living on the edge, living on the edge. It sort of loaded itself then. Okay. Very light, very similar to a T9, but a lighter version. Obviously, a lot more power in the tip. Loaded very nicely, lightning quick. Yeah, it's nice. Perfect Chesil Beach rod. I do like it. Gonna give it a pendulum cast now before I get wet feet. Lovely. Gonna have a pendulum cast with it now, and then we're gonna put it back to Mark. Okay. Went out a long way. Okay, let's get one in out there. Not snapped.
What happened?
You're not snapped. So, it's one thing to see. Knots. Luckily, obviously Mark's done that knot, but a lot to do with power and stuff. I've got a couple more in there. Have you got another one on you?
What?
Another link.
Oh yeah.
When you're doing power casting, guys, and it's very important, I never had no one out to the right of me then, and the important thing was that, okay? I just went to put a full pendulum cast into that cast, and its knot's gone. Very important. 80-pound shock leader. Obviously, look what's happened to his reel. We'll get that out in a minute. 80-pound shock leader is the minimum for casting. Personally, I wouldn't cast unless I'm. It's always 10 pound in strength for every ounce in lead. But saying that, I've seen friends of mine what are good casters, and I remember one day he had a 80-pound shock leader on with a 6 ounce lead. Went to load a T1200 up, and it actually, the knot of the shock leader snapped with the power he brought into it, and safety at all times. But as you can see, it's I'll tie the knot onto this one a minute and try and get this bird's nest out. I'll say it's just a slight overrun. We're lucky we got away with that. No one to the right is exactly what you want to do when you're casting, especially and learning to cast. Never want to have no one out to the right hand side of you. So I'll get this out a minute. Tie another clip on. And away we go.
So then it came off the weight, obviously.
Yeah, it snapped. If you hold that one a minute,
I cannot believe that.
I'll tie it on. I've seen, when you're power casting, I've seen him. I remember a friend of mine, he was casting a T1200 one day, and he had 6 ounce lead, and he had 80-pound line, and the reel he'd used, someone else had tied the knot on for him, and he went to cast it, and he'd done exactly the same as then, but he bottomed the rod out at the same time. Luckily that never happened, but obviously we're going on to these links here now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double this up, okay? So at the end of the day, guys, it's safety at all times. There you go. There you go. So let's get back into the review. Take that one there, I'm going to help you right there a minute. We ain't going to cut this out, I'm going to keep it in because it just shows the importance of safety. Obviously, if you're going out practicing casting and stuff, make sure your knots are all properly and stuff like that. Away from areas where you've got public and stuff like that on the beach. I mean, we've come right out the way here today, being half term and summer holidays and stuff, just because of that one reason. 7 o'clock in the morning down here. And yeah. Right, nice. Right, let's see if I can get one out. It's a tapered leader as well, isn't it? So that might be why. Okay. What? That went a very long way. I stopped it slightly because of the line going down. That was lovely, and I mean lovely. Could do with a bit of tape under that reel to stop it from spinning. Obviously we're only casting here today, but if I was fishing, that would get on my nerves a lot. That's just down to me. We've obviously took them straight out of the bags down here today as well. That's very, very nice. Very, very nice. It reminds me of a light HST. I don't know, just by watching the way the rod goes over at the end, it's me personally, it's like a J curve rod. It's a lot of power in the mid section. It's just the tip, as I'm reeling in now, it's just the tip slightly going over. It's very, very light, very, very powerful, and very easy to load, if I'm honest. We'll have another chuck. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's amazing how you can get that such a thin diameter and have that much power in the rod. We will put a 7 ounce onto it a bit later on. This is a 6 ounce now. But we'll get Mark to have a cast again, and then I'll throw another one out. But I don't know if you can see that. It's very J-curvy, and when that lead's going out, it's just really light. I mean, not used to that not lightness, to be fair. Even the T1 and the T9, they're not massively light rods. You know what I mean? They're still. You can just tell the difference. It's so thin. But with that, there's loads of power. But we'll get Mark again now. I'll put these brakes back on for him. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with those reels at all, mate. They fly. Very, very nice. Right, let's get Mark into it.
Right?
Big smiles, big smiles. Do you know what? When I come down here today, I bought that rod, I thought he's going to like this, and he is. You can see it when he casts it and it's going out. You can see a big smile on his face. And hopefully they're the right size for his truck. Casting it a lot easier. Obviously, personally, you want to get a reducer. I think you like those reducers, don't you?
Yeah.
So you probably want a reducer on for that rod. But I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is go through a bit of the general spec of the X80 so everybody knows. Mark's in behind me now. A couple of things that he's gone through. The first thing, couple of things I noticed from the casting lesson we had last time, he's been away and practiced. He's getting a lot more comfortable swinging that lead out to the left-hand side. It just needs to try and keep more tension in the line as it's dropping back, and he'll get there. I mean, he's bending that rod. He's got so much smiles on his face. I knew he was going to get on with that rod, just because his shoulder and the lightness. But yeah. In a couple of weeks, I can see him having a pair of them. But right, so the Eliminator Century X80s. Now, for anybody what's looking to buy rods and stuff like that, I would always suggest having a look on the Century site. The reason being, there's a lot of detail on the spec of the rod. So if you're an angler that lives around Dorset area or Dungeness area and always that type of fishing, a lot of it, you're not necessarily going to want anything which a lot of the Bristol Channel, if you lived around Minehead, would look for in a rod. If you're fishing a lot of the reefs and like bouldery grounds and stuff like that, obviously you'd be looking for more of a like mixed to rougher sort of ground rod, mixed ground at least. Where this is like clean beach, I would say personally that would handle the Bristol Channel with ease, especially if fishing like the reefs and stuff like that. With rotten bottoms, you get away with it and stuff. There's a lot of power in that rod, and it releases throughout, which I like about it. So the definitely Century C is definitely a website which I would recommend going to because at the end of the day, guys, the one thing I like about this X series now, it puts stop gaps within stop gaps, okay? And it's something which has always been looking for, because a lot of people, you get T9, you get T1, you get T12, you get T8, T7, and there's always something in between. Like the T9 for me is one of my favourite rods, but at the same time with the T9, it's got a glass tip, and if I'm fishing off the rocks and that, it's not necessarily what I want. I want a carbon tip, where this X90 sort of fits into it. I like a bit more of a pokier rod, where Mark obviously with his arm slightly lighter, but we'll get him having a go with the T9, not X90 in a minute. But on for this is the Eliminator X80 novel technology advanced manufacturing compound tapered buck section with an overlap joint generates a well-balanced rod. As Mark said straight away, you can feel the difference with that. He's going back onto the Graphic Sport gear now to have a couple of casts with. So I totally agree with it. The balance of the rod, as you've seen it with the multiplier on straight away, you can feel it there. So progressively stiffens throughout the curve to store and effortlessly release energy from the butt section, which, as I said, when that first layback cast I'd done, it just felt effortless. The power was there and it went a very, very long way. At the end of the day, it's a lot easier to load than a lot of the other rods, which I liked as well. Ideal for clean to mixed ground anglers to open beaches like Chesil and Dungeness. Perfect Chesil beach rod in my eyes. As I said, you get away with some mixed ground rods as well, but yeah, you can see his arm a bit more that, but it's a slightly heavier rod, that Graphic Sport. But yeah, so for the diameter of the rod slimline is 19.70 millimeter. So it's very, very slim, 13'6", and its optimum casting weight of 4 to 7 ounces with equal butt and tip sections, which is ideal. It fits in between the T800 and the T900. That's where it's positioned, and to be honest, it feels like a mini T900. I feel with the way it's loaded personally, obviously with a slightly different tip on it, but it's very, very nice, very, very fast. And it's very, very light. So we're going to get a few videos with Mark, obviously casting it now, and then what we'll do is we'll go over to the X90. So just come back to Mark here now. I'm going to get Mark to come into the camera quickly. Come a bit closer, mate. So this is what you've bought. You've had a go of mine a few months ago. You've gone out and purchased a set of them, a pair of them.
Yep.
To be honest, mate, you've been casting them lovely, haven't you? You've been getting into them. What difference do you find with this rod than you do the X80?
This rod, I have to put a lot more effort into the cast. So I'm using brute force to cast out with this, where the X80 is just the rod's doing the work for me, which I need for my bad shoulder and everything else.
Yeah.
It's just a pleasure to cast. Yeah. With this one, I'm actually feeling like I'm forcing the rod to bend.
I've found that super quick to load, very powerful, ideal casting rod as well. If you go onto the Century site, the Tip Tornado Graphic Sport takes design cues and feedback from anglers and leading casters alike. The design requirement being a rod suitable to fish both heavy to mixed ground. Specification on this rod is 2 equal butt lengths at 13'11" with an optimal casting weight of 4 to 8 ounces. So this rod here, you could get away with fishing rougher ground with, mixed ground with. It's a lot slimmer blank than you would find some of the other rods in that range to match that type of fishing. And it's very light and responsive, and it casts a very, very long way. As Mark's just said then, he feels it's more brute force with it, where that rod there he was doing a minute ago, the rod was actually doing the work for him. As I said, when I was loading that up with a layback cast and I went to come around to come into it, it just felt effortless. I didn't even, and the rod absorbed the cast. You know, sometimes as you come around, you get that finish off. It would just felt effortless and just like lightning quick. The recovery in that tip was fantastic. But
saying that, casting an 8 ounce on this would probably be more pleasurable than casting an 8 ounce, which it's not designed for.
No, that's a 7 ounce. That's designed for an 8 ounce. With an 8 ounce on that rod, the rod's absorbing it more, so it's easier for you to cast, really, because the rod's bending it. The lead's bending the rod. What I found with that straight away, when you were holding this rod compared to that one, a minute ago, your hand was always out there straight, and you were coming around in the correct position. With this one here and the other rods you're having, that arm's bending, and that's because of obviously your shoulder. So the lighter rod, in theory, is allowing you to get in the correct positions.
That's correct.
But personally, speaking out of casting both rods, what one would you prefer to cast?
The X80.
X80. The reason why?
Definitely. It's lighter. Casting a 7 ounce on it, it's lighter. The rod's bending. it's suiting my style of
You
casting.
fish a lot of different places.
Oh yeah,
A massive
absolutely.
boat angler, but also shore angler as well.
Yeah.
Shore angling sees you fishing for different parts of the country, the Bristol
Yeah,
Channel,
everywhere.
Cornwall, a lot of clean beaches, different marks, rough ground,
Yeah.
mixed ground.
I could use that rod for flounder in the River Exe or big fish in the Bristol Channel. With this one, I'd never take this for flounder.
There you go, guys. This is the whole good thing about including other people in reviews and stuff. It gives a feedback from anglers. Just like obviously Mark's that's newest to casting. He's invested into it. He's been having lessons and stuff like that, and he's upgraded his equipment. And the thing with it is exactly the same. This is why I wanted to bring him into this review today. It not just from my perspective, because obviously I've been fishing a long time, and I've been obviously I know what I'm doing with casting and stuff like that. Where there's a lot of anglers obviously just starting out, and just obviously and it's important to get that feedback as well, because a lot of people seem to think I'm going to go and buy this really big heavy ground rod and it's going to do it all for me. Where the likelihood like the X80, a lot more easy, user friendly, a lot more easier to cast, and at the same time the power and everything to go with it. But I'm very, very impressed with it. As I said, Mark's have another cast here now, and then we'll get into the T90, X90. All right, let's see. So this one here is Graphic Sport. Decked it slightly, but still went out. So I'm going to give one last pendulum cast a minute, and then we're going to move on to the other rod and let Mark have a go on the X90. This is a casting review today, guys, on the Century Eliminator X80 and the Century Eliminator X90. What I will say, I'm going to do the video separately, so it gets a general gist of obviously what we've gone through today. So we've just done the X80 now to finish off with the last cast of this, and then we'll go on to the next episode with the X90. And then next week, I'm planning on getting out. I've got a couple of sessions booked in guiding. Now, I'm hoping to get out somewhere and obviously try and get into a few fish with these rods. So maybe Mark will join us for the session, and obviously put the X80 in, I'll put the X90 in, and obviously maybe use one of each rod and see what performance are different. But right, one last cast with the X80, and we'll move on to the X90. Okay.
In, out.
It's just effortless. It really is. So easy to cast, so easy to use. The lightness in this at the minute is it's just lovely. It really is. I mean, I'll be taping them up to go fishing. That went a very, very long way. And the recovery in that tip is just lightning. It is lightning fast. It's personally, it's like, it reminds me of a HST, but a lot lighter with a J curve. It's hard to say, but personally, it feels very J curvy when I'm bringing it in. But with the technology, it's like casting the T1000. It's a gradually build up over the space of the rod, isn't it? With the power, it progresses over the rod. But me personally, I'm a big fan of this rod. It's a very nice bit of kit, and they've done a fantastic job to bring a stopgap between the T8 and the T9, which I think was needed at the end of the day. But it's lovely. It really is nice. Flying. Right, guys, gonna get Mark in quickly with me just to final off on this, and then we will head over and do the X90. So, mate, overall review from yourself on the X80.
The overall review of myself for the X80, I need to do some overtime and buy a pair.
What's that, mate?
I need to do some overtime and buy a pair.
I like them then.
Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah.
They suit the way I fish, they suit the way I cast, they load up quite easily with the 6 ounce on it. It's super fast recovery. Yeah, they're just a good rod for down in the West Country.
Very, very nice. Do you want to finish off with one last cast?
Yeah, go on then.
Put the mags on for you a little bit. There you go. I'll take that one there. But we'll go with the Mark again, finish it off, and catch you in the next one, guys. You hear that nice, didn't you? Big smiles is what we want to see. Guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Tight lines.